Hey, welcome to Legals and Biz with Riz, the podcast offering you business and legal tips without the boring legalese. I'm your host, Riz McDonald, and I'm here to answer your questions and offer general advice in the clearest way possible. So grab your beverage of choice, sit back, and get ready to build your empire with Find Legal. Hello everyone and welcome back. Welcome to episode 10 of Legals and Biz with Riz. Now, have you ever found yourself wondering one long, perfect, lazy afternoon when you had nothing better to do about spam emails and how the heck that whole thing worked legally for the company sending them out? No? Well, that's just weird. You aren't normal. Just kidding. It's an absurd thought to spend your casual time thinking about it. But if you're a business owner with email and text marketing and advertising on your mind, then it's time you started to think about it. Sound like fun? I mean, who doesn't want to spend a lazy afternoon learning about all things spam and the law? Now, listen on for our 5 frequently asked questions about advertising by email or any commercial electronic message. First up, the Spam Act 2003. This bad boy is an act passed by the Australian Parliament back in 2003 when email was super cool. Well, in my opinion, it still is. But anyway, to regulate commercial email and other kinds of commercial electronic messages, like text messages. It's an Australian-wide law that prohibits the sending of unsolicited commercial electronic messages. With me so far? Okay, let's try and break it down. So, what is a commercial electronic message exactly? Well, good question, law learner. Let's get clear on what exactly a commercial electronic message is. The Spam Act sets out what constitutes a commercial electronic message. But to summarize, it's a message that can be sent by email, SMS, MMS, social media, or instant message that offers, promotes the supply of goods or services, provides business or investment opportunities. It's not an exhaustive list. The Spam Act sets things out in a bit more detail. Now, if you're new to the world of spam laws and commercial regulations, let me first fill you in on the Australian Communications and Media Authority and what they do exactly, also known as ACMA. They're the government body responsible for the regulation of broadcasting, telecommunications, radio communications, and online industries. You can check out more about them in the links in the episode. Now, I know you're super fascinated by this Spam Act stuff, so let's keep going. To figure out if a message is considered commercial, ACMA explores the message content, how it's presented, as well as any contact information or links that have commercial content. So, if the message is linking back to your website selling the hottest new barbecue aprons on the market, that could be construed as a commercial link. So, what are the Spam Act rules you must follow to stay legal? Well, through all of the legal jargon that comes along with any law and act passed through Parliament, and though they can be kind of scary and super overwhelming, there are always ways to break them down so they're less daunting and your brain won't try to run away. So for the Spam Act, there are really 3 key rules that you need to follow closely and carefully. Rule number 1, permission, consent. The sender must have given permission or consent to send the message from the recipient or owner of the account where the message is being sent. Permission can be expressed, like signing up to your mailing list, or inferred. Perhaps you have a business relationship with the individual and you're continuously in contact discussing ongoing business needs, news and events. Ultimately, ACMA decides if permission is indeed inferred. So here it can get sticky. So don't fall into any legal grey areas as it's your job to prove you have consent. Best practice is to get express consent. Second rule, include sender information. Any message being sent must include the name and contact details of the person or business that is sending the message. Rule number 3, the option to unsubscribe. There must always be an option to unsubscribe from or opt out of the messages being sent. So something as simple as, we would be sad to see you go, but if you don't want to receive any more messages, just click unsubscribe below. Or for an SMS notification in the text message, you need to say to reply stop or opt out. You get the idea. Now, outside of these 3 rules, that must be followed. There's a little more nitty-gritty, like not being able to use addresses that have been harvested by a computer program or service. That isn't proper permission. You also cannot have a partner in crime to try and get around the rules. Someone sending messages on your behalf to individuals who haven't given consent still implicates you and your business. You're still breaking the law. But what if I use someone outside of Australia to send my messages? Tough stuff, friends. Like we said earlier, reeling in someone else to send messages on your behalf is a big no-no. Even if that someone lives in Canada or Turkey or the North Pole, it's still your company and your message being sent out, so you need to abide by the rules of the Spam Act. Are there any exemptions to the spam rules? Well, actually there are a few. Designated commercial messages. The long and the short of this is that there are certain organisations that are exempt from these laws, such as registered political parties, charities, government bodies, and places of education, as long as the message is to current or past students. If any of these organisations send an email about their services, they don't need permission to do so from the recipient. The other is factual messages. These messages don't have any commercial or advertising information in them, so you can't be telling the recipient about your aerobics fashion releases for the summer season. What you can put in the email is a reminder for their meeting with you for next Wednesday. Facts, no selling. Got it? Good. Now, what are the repercussions for breaking the spam rules? Well, if you decide you like to live on the edge and you go and break any of these rules, ACMA has some steps they take to keep you from repeating your mistake. Ominous no? Look, you're not going to be tossing the slammer anytime soon, but you can get more than just a formal warning and a slap on the wrist. If you receive an infringement notice, it can be hefty, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. If you're a repeat offender, the cost is even more. In my humble opinion, sending an email to sell some new aerobics clothes or whatever your wares may be is definitely not worth that much of a risk. So before you begin your marketing campaign, be sure that any commercial messages you send out are on the right side of the Spam Act. And if you're still unclear about the Spam Act and commercial electronic messages, don't hesitate to give us a shout. We're here for you and we're ready to geek out on the law. Thank you so much and see you next time. Well, that's it for this episode of Legals and Biz with Riz. As always, thanks for listening. If you like this episode, raise a glass and show us some love by subscribing. And if you're feeling extra jazzed, we'd love a little review. If there are any topics you'd like to hear about, shoot us a message and we'll get on it. Till next time, this is Riz of Found Legal signing off.